beautiful. Mehntay Ngwayah will never forget the sound of gunshots ringing at the age of 7 and again at 21 years of age when war broke out around her. Defining moments don't happen to break you down. They happen for you to lift others. You were listening to the Africana Woman podcast, and I'm your host, Chulu. Every week, I ask an Africana woman to invite us into her home to give us a snapshot into what happens behind her closed doors. I hope you would join me on this journey of discovery, revelation, and self-awareness. I'm not going to lie. It may become uncomfortable sometimes. However, I encourage you to push past your unease and challenge yourself to think differently. The simple act of expanding yourself to receive the unknown may be transformational for you. In the previous episode, Mehntay told us how her family was doing well in Liberia until the day they ran out of their home in pajamas for what they thought would be a week, but ended up being 2 years of walking to safety. Her family of 6 siblings, her mother and father, fought to stay together. However, was separated due to circumstances beyond their control. We pick up the story where the family has lost track of their father for years, but they have been given asylum in Australia.
So, when you did arrive in Australia, what were their conditions? Because in Ivory Coast, they said, well, you guys can just chill wherever you want to chill, wherever you find yourselves, And then in Guinea, they're like, no, ma'am, you need to be in the camp in a desert. So in Australia, what were the conditions?
In Australia, we got here. So we got told what to expect before we got here. We had like a cultural orientation. So we got told this is what's going to happen. You're going to go and the government has already found a house for you guys. You're going to live in that house. You're going to get government assistance and you're going to get to be able to pay for your food and your rent. And if you want to go to school, you get government assistance to go to school. So we pretty much sort of had orientation. And then we got here. Someone had our names at the airport on a piece of sheet, and then they took us in this bus. But it was all still, and because the trip was a long trip, it was like over 27 hours before we got here. By the time we got here, we were half sick, half tired, like everyone was just knocked out. So we just got in that bus, came home. Mum didn't sleep that night because she just felt like, no, this is not happening. Like, no, something is going to happen again. But we all just crashed. Because of the time difference, we used to sleep like during the day and then be up at night and just be chatting. So during the day, we'll just sleep, and then at night, we'll just be up and chatting, and then we'll watch TV. And then we're like, oh my God, we got a TV again, like, we got a TV again. So it was just changing the channels. And can you imagine like having all these kids with one TV and trying to, and yeah. And then next day we got taken to, we call it Centrelink here, but it's like the social security. We got all our social security stuff done. We went and got our Medicare done. And the guy that took us, he was an African, but his English wasn't that good because I think he was from Sudan or somewhere. And we'll get to the place and he'll be like, you guys speak English more than me. So that was an advantage for us coming from an English speaking background. And he was like, you speak English better than me. Go in and just say what you need to get because I can't, because he was meant to like be interpreting for us and doing this. So that's how we pretty much got pushed into finding our way around because he said to us, you speak English better than me. Go in there, tell them, okay, this is what we're here for and this is what we need. And that's just how we just started going into buildings and asking people, what can we do next? We're new in the country. What can we do? What how do you live in this country? How do you get by? And people say, oh, you go to the library, you get registered, you get a library card, you can go there, you can borrow books, or you can go to school over there, you can go and do this. And yeah, so just pretty much asking people and getting around. And I find myself a job really quickly because I realized I didn't like Social Security. So after 3 months, I was like, knocking on people's doors. Can you give me a job? I'm looking for a job. I'm looking for a job. And yeah, just making friends. Like you just see an African walking down the street and you go, oh, you're African. I'm African too. Hi, how are you? You know, just that sort of thing. And just, yeah, it was scary, but it was exciting. Being safe for the first time in so many years. But then still at the back of your mind thinking, how long is this going to last? Is it real? Yeah. And just trying to get readjusted to going back to studying, going back to working, going back to just being normal again. And then we started trying to find our dad again. Because now this time we could actually afford to get a calling card and call like every single person that we had their number or their contact details. Or even if we didn't know them, we'll call them and say, oh, this so-and-so person. And yep. And then 2 years after that, my dad came and he walked me down the aisle for my wedding, which was a dream come true. I postponed my wedding so many times because I just wanted my dad to be there. Yeah. All the feels.
Yeah, I was holding back all this time, but you got me at the wedding. You got me at the wedding.
Yeah. It was a moment. Mm-hmm. The day my dad got here. So he had to leave Liberia and come to Guinea, and we will talk to him on the phone. But it was still like, we don't know this man. Who is he? And our church that we went to at the time, they rented a bus because there's a lot of us. As you know, my mom had adopted like 3 kids in the refugee camp, and the church was so supportive of us, and they rented a bus, and they were like, we're going to take you guys to the airport. We're excited to meet this person. We know it's our dad, like especially for us, the eldest one. I knew my dad wore glasses pretty much. You don't realize that. You just remember those little things. And that's how I recognized that it was my dad, from his glasses. And I was just like, yeah, my dad wears glasses. And if I see someone coming with glasses, I think that would be my dad, sort of thing. And we're at the airport. I was just sitting there waiting. My mom was just looking straight at the door. And he walked out. And mom was like, yes. And it was just, we just ran over. And the people from our church that took us, they were standing there crying. And it was just like a few months, because we had, every time that we had set a date for the wedding, we were just setting a date, hoping that, oh yeah, he'll be here. And I just kept saying, we just need to postpone this because I need my dad. People from my church were like volunteering to walk me down the aisle, but I was just like, I need my dad. I think we postponed the wedding 3 times. In 2007, March 31st, my dad held my hand and walked me down the aisle. And it was a big celebration. It was like a celebration of my dad coming back, even though it was my wedding. It was it was just amazing. And I remember that, I know it sounds weird, but my wedding was just a day of celebration of our family coming back together. And yeah.
Yeah, we need a breath right here. Like just a nice deep breath.
We do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you work with women that are immigrants, and I mean, you've told us a little bit about how, when you arrived, you're kind of just thrown into the deep end, like work it out, figure it out, find a job. I can't do the Social Security anymore. But just tell us a little bit more about why, what really motivates you to want to give back to that community?
I think it's always been something, as I said earlier, that's in me that just want to help. And coming to Australia, that thing was still in me to just help people in general. But then more like my mum had been a single mum for a long time, with all these kids struggling to just get them food and get them everything. And then you come to a new country, you have to adapt. Like, they've got no processing time. They've got no time to sit there and grieve. Mum doesn't have time to sit there and think, where's my husband today or what? Like, they've got a lot of stuff on their plate. She's left her career. She's left her home. She's left everything. And now she's just focused on, even though she went to school, she studied, she worked back home, but now she couldn't even put herself together and say, yeah, I'm going to go back. She doesn't have that strength anymore to say, yeah, when you come to a new country, you have to go back to study. She didn't have that in her to go and study again. Like, she had already used up whatever reserve she had in her just to survive. And I just see people, especially the ladies from non-speaking background, that come to this country and they just struggle, like they lose themselves in the process. And they have to wait for Social Security that is not even going to get them by to the next month with their kids. And they can't find a job because they don't speak English properly. And they're not going to go to school to get a certificate. In this country, if you're going to wipe tables, you need a certificate. Like back home, if you're going to sweep, you just go sweep. You grab the broom. All the ladies back home know how to sweep and wipe a table and clean. But here you need a certificate to do that. I had to go and get a cleaning certificate when I got into this country because that's what I started doing. I started washing dishes, started doing stock taking stores. I started working in the hospital, cleaning in the hospital because I was studying nursing and I wanted to see how the hospital environment was. But that's because I would say I was young and I still had it in me. But these women who had gone through all this stuff, they just could not bring themselves to going back to school, getting this certificate or going back to getting a degree and go back to the jobs that they were doing. But they knew how to clean. Like, I don't know who from Africa, a woman doesn't know how to clean. You start early, they go, clean your room, and you got to clean it properly. So I was like, this is something that they can do. If I can provide that for someone, that'll empower them. That'll bring their self-esteem back up. They'll be able to contribute to their family. They won't have to wait for Social Security and I just saw that opportunity and went for it. And I don't know what I'm doing up to this day, to be honest. I just thought, yeah, got a bit of money, just get the things ready, go and do the training. I got into it from a franchise and I learned everything from the franchise. Now I've left the franchise and people just still I was going to leave it and people just still kept asking. And the way I see these ladies, like their eyes light up that they can be able to do stuff for even their family back home, it's just like, I can't stop it. I just have to keep going. It doesn't matter what, I just have to keep doing it. So, yeah.
Sis, are you like me? I literally live by my calendar. If it's not on there, it does not exist, nor does it happen. But quick question, are you on your calendar? I don't mean all the activities that you do for and with others. I mean, do you have a day that is all about you? Not babies, not bae, not work, or anything else that keeps you busy. I'm asking you to be your own bae. So one day a month, Africana Woman will host in-person events in Lusaka that give you permission to practice self-love. This is not just another networking event. You know, restaurants and cocktails. No, darling. Instead, we're partnering with local businesses to give you unique experiences like paint and sip, a ladies' hike, or a body positive dance class. Like, you do not want to miss this. So come on then, join us, sign up today, be your own bae. Find the link in the show notes or go to africanawoman.com. Now back to the conversation.
You're saying you don't know what you're doing, but I think what you're doing, it goes far beyond the business. It's literally saving lives. It's restoring dignity where it was lost and stripped. It's giving a woman back her power. Yeah. And that's what you're doing.
Yeah. And I did not even think about all those things, to be honest, Chulu. Mm-hmm. It was one lady who sat me down one day and she was like, come here, I'm going to get some sense into your head. Do you know what this is that you're doing?
Yeah.
And she was just like, and then it hit me and I was like, she's right. It is doing these things. She is right. But in the beginning, it was just like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's exactly what you've just put me back again.
Back on that chair, like, you better know what you're doing, girl. But, okay. As we wind down, I would love for you to just speak to us. Give us a summary of where you've come from to where you are now and what is it that keeps you going? What is the system that makes you know that could have happened to me? That is my story, but it's not who I am, and I will keep going.
Yeah. So after all that, came to Australia, got married, started living my life, went on and did nursing, started working. And still deep down in me, I still felt this feeling like you have to deal with those things as they come up. But sometimes I'm just like, I've wasted a lot of time, so I've got to catch up. So I just kept studying, working pretty much. And then in October of 2015, I had my daughter. And having my daughter was another struggle for me. And that was another thing that just made me feel like so weak and fearful again, because it was a struggle just getting pregnant. And I was like, what is this with me? I just can't seem to do stuff the proper way. And after going through surgery and going through treatment and everything, my daughter was born. That Thursday night at about 10:36. And she was placed on me. And when that baby was placed on me, and before I got pregnant, I had a dream. And in my dream, I just felt like it was a man, but I didn't see the face, but this person had on white. They came in, and that night was one of my worst nights. I had literally cried myself to sleep, like begging God, can you give me a child? And that man took me into this big hall, like huge. And there was just babies in this Moses basket, just little baskets everywhere in the hall, and babies. And he walked me through. I was behind him, and I felt like it was a man. I didn't see his face, so I just called him a man. And he just kept taking me down, and babies from every race was in that room, in those little baskets. And he stopped. And when he stopped, he looked down. In this basket, there was this little girl. And her eyes, like, they pierced my soul when I stopped and looked at that baby. And he picked that baby up and handed it to me. Handed that baby to me and said the baby name was Biao. In my native dialect, it means answer to prayer. And I took that baby, lots of hair and big brown eyes. A few weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. I did not check what the sex of the baby was. I was like, I know it's a girl. And that night, that girl was put on my chest. Lots of hair, and those big brown eyes stared back at me. I was like, all those feeling came back, like I felt powerful again. I felt like I could conquer the world. I felt like all that fear left me, all that, it was just like something had come back into me, and that just made me want to go, just made me want to do stuff, and just made me not feel like, oh, your time had been wasted, or you've been running for years and years, nothing's going to come out of you. You know, all those thoughts that come into my head just sort of just left me. And I felt I've been given a human being to look after. God really think that I can do this. So he's given me someone to look after. And I think that's where that cleaning thing just, like, I have to look after other people. I have to tell people that no matter where you come from, what you've done, you can do this. Like, you can do it. And I call it my refugee moment. I sort of say, you have not been a refugee like me, but you've had a refugee moment. Like, you've had times where you felt like powerless. You've had times where you felt weak. You have times where you felt disempowered. Maybe it was at your job. Maybe it was in your marriage. Maybe it was with your kids. Like, you've had times where you felt like you were down in the dumps. But now I just tell people, no matter what, you have been empowered to have an impact. And as we know, our coach Patrice says, what's happening to you did not happen to you, happened for you. So this has happened for me. And now I can live in any environment, I usually laugh around with my friends and I say, if you give me a fork and a knife, I can eat with a fork and a knife, but if there's none, I can wash my hands. I know how to eat with my fingers. So this has prepared me for that. Whatever situation comes now, I can sort of stand up and look at it. And so in that moment after my daughter was born, I just had that feeling again, and I just started going after self-development and just trying to understand myself and what power that lies or had been laying dormant in me, that little girl had that power back, even though she was running away from her country, from her people and everything, but it is still there. So try to awaken that power. And then it's just so funny that I got into P2P. And I had never done anything like Purpose to Platform, never, ever. And the first question they asked me was, what do you do? We're not talking about your qualification, like what that question threw me off. I could not answer what I do, like what, not being a nurse. No, a nurse is your title, but what do you actually do? And in finding out what I do, I just worked through that with like the coaches and everyone. And I came to realize that I empowered to impact. And I came up with this method that has really, really helped me. And it's called Be Strong. And it's based on a Bible verse that says, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Because I realized as a human, I could not have done that just by myself. And B is for believe in yourself. E is for educate yourself. S is for be strong in your mind, in your body, and in your spirit. T is for trust in the process. R is for be resilient. O is for obey the call. N is never give up. And G is go for it. Whatever it is, that thing that you've always thought about, that thing, that thing, go for it. And that has been my method.
Sis, you have just blessed us today. Like, thank you. Thank you for sharing your story.
So grateful. So grateful.
Thank you. Be strong. I hope you guys that are listening to this, you're really, really taking that in. Be strong.
Be strong.
No matter what you came through, guys, no matter what you came through, no matter what your refugee moment was, be strong.
Be strong.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the Africana Women community, we have a little saying that goes, know your roots, grow your purpose. And it's actually, a lot of the things that you're saying are quite similar, with the know is an acronym for knowledge, nourish, obedience, operate in obedience and weakness. And when you were, describing be strong, it was like, so similar. I love it. So I have a few questions for you. Just let me know whatever comes to mind. And if you want to expand on it, it's fine. So are you ready?
I am ready.
Yeah? Okay, cool. So what are you rooted to?
I think it's my faith in God. Mm-hmm. That he is my provider, he is my sustainer, he's my deliverer, he's my rock, he's my strength. Like when I say be strong, it's not in my strength, it's not in my power, because I could not. And I was not strong in everything that I went through, but it's by the power of God. So I'm rooted in knowing that there is a power that's greater than me. And I've been created by that power for purpose and to have an impact.
Yeah, yeah. So what are your favorite ways to nourish your mind, body, and soul?
My favorite ways, and all this I'm still in the process of learning this, people. Still in the process of learning this. For my soul, it's like reading my Bible and praying. For my mind and my emotions, it's like talking through this stuff with someone. Because these things are heavy. And some of us Africans, I'm not going to say all of us, but I know there's quite a few of us that don't want to talk through this stuff. We just want to pretend that it didn't happen. But talking through the stuff, it will nourish your mind and your emotions. And then my body, I'm still learning about feeding myself right, exercising, and just taking time out for yourself as an African woman, which is really hard to do. Because all you've seen is a woman, you can't take time for yourself. It's got to be the husband and the kids and the family and the aunties and the nephews and nieces and all that. Just take time for yourself. Yeah. And I went to a hot spa the other day and I sat there and I enjoyed it.
I love it.
Yes. And I just enjoyed it. I just relaxed for like 3 hours. And I was like, yeah, no regrets.
Yeah. So do you have a weakness that has now become your superpower?
A weakness that has now become my superpower. I would say my weakness that has now become a superpower is forgiving people. Because I struggled with unforgiveness for a long time. Like after everything that I explained, I just did not want to be bothered. Like everyone was evil and people were just out to get me. And if you did anything to me, you were just put in that book. It was just like, but then again, after working through stuff, that's why you need to work through stuff with other people. I realized that unforgiveness was just hurting me. Like those people had moved on. Whatever had happened. But I had to deal with me, with this body. I had to look after this body. I had to look after this mind. And unforgiveness was just pretty much eating me up inside and not making me reach that full potential to have that impact. So that has become a strength for me.
Lovely. And then what do you know for sure?
Oh, what I know for sure. What I know for sure is that everyone, no matter what, no matter where you were born, no matter what your past is, you were created for a purpose. You are created to have an impact. Every single one of us.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Mehntay, sis, this has been so beautiful. Can you please let everybody know how they can reach you, how they can contact you, how they can show you give you your roses and just,
give me my roses.
This was amazing.
Oh, first of all, I just want to thank you so much, Chulu. You don't know how grateful I am to you for just listening to me on a call, just this random stranger, because someone told me you need to talk to her. And I covered, you just open up your heart to me and you decided that you're going to interview me. I'm just so grateful to you for just inviting me on your show to be able to share this heavy stuff in full that I've shared. I'm just so grateful. I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook. On Facebook, my name is Mehntay Ngwayah. And I'm not active in those places, but I still pop in here and there. And on Instagram is Biawo15, so BIAWO 15, and that's my daughter's name that was given to me in the dream and the year she was born, 15. And I'm working on a blog that's going to be my name as well, so watch out for that.
Yay! So awesome. Okay. Love it. Alrighty. Oh, well, thank you for coming on the Africana Woman podcast. I honor your mother. The strength, her heart, never giving up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I owe a lot of stuff to that woman.
You tell her that there's this random girl in Zambia that just says, "Thank you, Mom." Thank you so much.
And she'll tell me I'm going to Zambia because I got someone there now. That's how she does.
And just thank you for being open, being vulnerable, and telling us your story in all of it, in all of that it is in its entirety. And I know that this is going to bless so many people. And thank you, my darling.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. And thank you to all your listeners for listening and just being patient. I know this stuff was heavy stuff, but just thank you for listening. Thank you to all of you. Okay. Thank you, sis. I appreciate you.
Listen, how good is God? Can we take a moment to give a big shout out to him? A family of 6 children plus 3 adopted children all made it to Australia after about 15 years of living as refugees. They lost their father for the majority of that period. But by God's grace, their father was able to walk Mehntay down the aisle at her wedding. If that is not God, I don't know what else is. Can we also send so much love to Mehntay's mother? You just do not know what you are capable of until you are tested. This woman did not lose faith. She kept all her children together. She put food on their table. She took in orphaned children. And then told the immigration authorities she could not leave them behind. She was a single parent in the most trying period of her life, and she never gave up on her husband. Miracles do happen. There is a God. Now, Mehntay works to empower immigrant women. Why? Because she knows what it means to start from scratch in a new country. She knows the emotions. She knows the limiting beliefs that run around in these women's minds. She knows that they desire to work and be independent. Her defining moment was what led her to what she does today. What is your defining moment? Please find Mehntay on social media at Biawo15. Tell her you heard her on the Africana Woman podcast. Thank you, dear listener, for making us part of your day by listening in. I truly appreciate you. If you liked this episode, please share it with a friend. You can also find me on Instagram at ChuluByDesign. Say hello and I always respond. Until next week, I want you to remember, know your roots, grow your purpose. This has been a production of Ulendo Creative Media. You can find out more about their services on www.ulendocreative.com.